Al-Jazari was indeed a remarkable thinker and inventor of his time, often credited as a pioneer in mechanical engineering and automation. His contributions during the late 12th and early 13th centuries laid foundational principles that would influence future generations of engineers and programmers. A Muslim scientist born in 1136 AD on an island called Abu Omar, whose nickname was al-Jazari. This island was part of the Levant, and today it follows Turkey and is located directly on the border with Syria. The curiosity of this person is that he was the first man to move or robot. At the request of the Emir of Diyarbakir, he is called Amid to make a machine that sings about servants whenever he wishes to light up to pray. Al-Jazari made a machine in the form of al-Ghulam, or boy, upright, in the hand of a water jug, and in the other hand a towel, that in addition to having a bird on the turban, whistling whenever the time comes for prayer. This boy or servant then advances to his master amid to pour water to him by a certain amount, and when he is finished with the light, he gives him the towel and returns to his place. This al-Ghulam, or prayer robot, has been questioned by many scientists about how it knows about prayer times. In our current world, and with technological development, electronic cells can be relied upon to act on directives that are already programmed by humans, providing guidance and steps that the robot must make. Scientists have developed a lot of hypotheses that discuss how the robot knows about prayer times and how it moves. One of the most prominent theories is its reliance on sunlight entering the room, in which it evaporates a little water enough to move the robot's joints, and to urge it to move forward or backwards based on the control of several fine scales placed inside this body. This theory applies only during the day, not at night. His achievements also fall within the realm of mechanical inventions and machine manufacturing. And this brilliant engineer was particularly concerned with using scientific facts and technological expertise in manufacturing innovative machines that would benefit society. That Al-Jazari's scientific achievements are evident in his important book, The Compendium of Useful Knowledge in the Art of Techniques, which is a book on mechanical engineering and is considered, rightly, the most wonderful work written in the ancient and medieval centuries on mechanical and hydraulic machines. This book became very famous in the Western world, and many chapters of it were translated into German in the first quarter of the 20th century. The translations were done by Wiedemann and Hauser, who conducted very important research into the history of science and technology among the Arabs. A complete translation was also published in English by Donald Hall, a specialist in the history of Arab technology. From studying the chapters of the book, we immediately realized that Al-Jazari was well-versed in his art, and that he was well-versed in all mechanical and hydraulic arts. Many researchers and applied technology scientists consider this book to be the most important engineering work that has reached us from all ancient and medieval civilizations known to the world until the European Renaissance. This importance is not only due to the book containing important descriptions of the mechanical machines that Al-Jazari invented and described, but also due to its inclusion of methods for making them. These methods were described in sufficient detail and with precise instructions that made it possible to make them in our time by the hands of technicians. All of this has earned al-Jazari's book wide fame and gained it great attention in the West. It is worth noting that the researcher and orientalist Donald Hill won the International Dexter Award for his translation of al-Jazari's book into English and writing a comprehensive thesis on Badi, al-Zaman al-Jazari and the history of Islamic technology, which is awarded to those with distinguished achievements in the fields of technology. There is a Japanese researcher who was interested in the visual aspect of al-Jazari's book and studied it, and published studies on the engineering drawings and illustrations that were included in one of the book's manuscripts, which is the manuscript preserved in the Suleymaniye Library in the Ayasofya Mosque in Istanbul. Due to the great importance of the book in the eyes of the West, the English orientalist and technological engineer Dr. Donald Hill said about it, "Until modern times, no document has reached us from any other civilization in the world that contains what is similar to what is in al-Jazari's book in terms of richness in designs and engineering explanations of methods of manufacturing and assembling machines." The great historian of science, George Sarton, says, "This book is the most clear book of its kind and can be considered the pinnacle of this type of Muslim achievement." The importance of the book Al-Jami and its contents. The book is divided into 5 parts, each of which deals with a section of the tricks or technology of industries, and it brings together the following topics: water clocks, ships, measuring basins, fountains, water lifting machines that operate by the force of water flow, some useful machines such as doors and locks. In his book, al-Jazari focused on the importance of experimentation and the importance of careful observation of phenomena that form the basis for practical conclusions. The book summarizes most of the accumulated knowledge about mechanical engineering up to that time, with developments and innovations by al-Jazari himself. And its importance lies in part in what it includes in terms of descriptions of machines, components, and ideas. Equally important is the fact that al-Jazari wrote his book with a declared insistence on enabling craftsmen after him to reassemble his machines, as he provided a detailed description of each of the 50 machines, including their manufacture, assembly, and component parts. As the orientalist Donald Hill says, he has provided us with a vast wealth of information regarding the methods and approaches of mechanical engineers in the Islamic world. The book included al-Jazari's description of 5 water-lifting machines that operate by the force of water flowing in its natural course. Al-Jazari made them of different designs to suit the different heights to which water had to be transported. These machines left a clear imprint on the history of machine manufacturing in the world. Al-Jazari also described the first model of the water pump that paved the way for the invention of the steam engine and pumping machines that operate with pistons or interlocking cylinders. Gutter. The ladle is attached at the end of its tail to a horizontal axis so that it moves with it. The axis carries a gear at one end, and parallel to this gear is a partial gear carried by an axis parallel to the axis of the ladle. At the other end of this second axis is a vertical gear that is turned by a horizontal gear. This last gear is turned by the animal attached to the traction shaft. The animal rotates in a circular path, as in the water wheel. The pair of gear wheels then turns the partial gear. The teeth of the latter mesh with the opposite gear and turn it. The ladle rises to the top and empties its contents of water into the canal. When the partial meshing of the teeth is finished, the ladle falls back into the water to fill up, and the process is repeated continuously. We find that al-Jazari describes the partially gear wheel for the first time. This type of gear was used in Europe about 200 years after the date of al-Jazari's book. Earliest robots in history. To entertain and inform, however, The true brilliance of Ismail al-Jazari and his inventions is displayed by his robots and automata. Some of the earliest robotics work is ascribed to him and was really a big focus in his career. It shows how advanced his thinking was and was most certainly something unparalleled at the time. One unique automaton relied on an early hydraulic pump, which measured time as a stopwatch and whistled when the time was up. But perhaps the most unique of his automata is his musical robot band. It featured a boat with 4 artificial robot musicians who were designed to entertain guests. The robot band is also shown in detail in his book. This invention showcases a complex system of water and rotary cams which were used to set the robots and their instruments into motion. It is possible that the main instrument used was the drum, whose tempo could be alternated with the different positioning of the cams. It is written that the musical automaton was very loud and could perform several unique tunes. This particular design was taken even further, but this time in the form of a clock. Al-Jazari designed a complex artificial band, which served to entertain guests and also tell the passage of time. It consisted of several figures joined together: 2 cymbal players, 2 trumpeters, and 3 percussion instrument players. This unique mechanism served as a form of a clock, producing a short musical performance every hour. This served both a practical and entertaining role. Like most of al-Jazari's inventions, this clock was powered by a complex mechanism relying on water, pistons, and cables. The musicians were connected to a large wheel, which was propelled by water. The hourly movements were enabled by slowly dripping water from a large tank into a smaller bucket, which would eventually tip over and initiate the movement. As the hourly movements progressed, another figure on top of the scene would move along until it reached the end position, triggering a carved falcon that drops a ball out of its beak onto a cymbal, whose jangling sound initiates the daybreak and starts the movement once more. Candle clocks were known for a very long time and were not very unique in al-Jazari's time. However, he greatly improved the design and created one of the most advanced candle clocks of his era. These candles burned at a steady and measured pace, and their diminishing indicated the passing of time. Al-Jazari's design was complex. It featured a dial to display time, a series of pulleys and counterweights, as well as a first-time use of the popular bayonet fit, a connection technique that is still used today. It is stated that a candle clock so sophisticated and refined was never documented elsewhere. The elephant clock as his crowning achievement. It was his famous elephant clock that really marked Ismail al-Jazari's career and remained as his most recognizable invention. This complex water clock was disguised within a large Asian elephant with a traditional carriage on top of him. As the name suggests, the clock timing mechanism was based on water movement. A large tank filled with water was hidden with the elephant, and it floated a deep bowl that had a hole in its center. It took half an hour for it to fill up through the hole. That as it sank due to the water filling up, this bowl pulled on an attached string. The latter was in turn connected to a classic seesaw mechanism at the very top of the tower that was on the elephant. As the seesaw tipped over, it dropped a ball into the mouth of the carved serpent that sat in the tower. The serpent angles forward, pulls on a series of strings, and retrieves the deep bowl from within the elephant, resetting it. At the same time, the strings initiate the movement of a figure inside the tower, raising its hands and striking into a drum. The entire movement indicates either half an hour or a full hour. The serpent returns to its original position and the system is reset. Numerous modern reproductions of this ingenious clock have been made, and the design is still as equally astonishing as it was centuries ago, perfectly showcasing the brilliance of al-Jazari's mind. In Switzerland, in front of the Musée d'Horlogerie du Local Clock Museum of Le Local, in Château de Mons, in Le Local, there is a full-sized working replica. Another majestic reproduction is housed in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, standing as the focal point of the large Ibn Battuta Mall. While the elephant clock was perhaps his most marvelous design, it was eventually surpassed when al-Jazari created his largest creation, the so-called castle clock. A complex design, it was not only used to show the passage of hours, but also served as an astronomical clock, displaying the solar and lunar orbits, the zodiac, and a series of automatons. Roughly 3.4 meters, 11 feet high, the clock had a series of intricate mechanisms within the AT every hour. Automatic doors in the center would open, revealing a moving figure that would sound the time. Al-Jazari used automaton musicians, a series of figures that played music, again operated by camshafts and water wheels. The design was far ahead of its time, having the ability to reprogram the length of the day, adjusting to the uneven lengths of days during the year, known as the temporal hours. The castle clock of al-Jazari is considered today as the earliest programmable analog computer. The overlooked genius of al-Jazari, the genius of Ismail al-Jazari, is largely overlooked today. He, and a series of other medieval Muslim inventors, marked a period in history when humanity quickly moved forward in pursuit of intricate and helpful innovations. It is important to note that perhaps none of al-Jazari's inventions were of a military nature or used in negative spheres. Rather, they were intended to help society, make lives easier and more bountiful, and entertaining as well. And thus, in many ways, Ismail al-Jazari is one of the greatest minds of the medieval age. To combine his amazing works, secrets, and innovations, al-Jazari wrote the book The Synthesis of Science and Useful Work in the Trick Industry, which in Europe was called Engineering Tricks after its translation, in which he considered an icon of science and encyclopedia of the secrets of modern engineering inventions. He spent about 25 years writing. He gave precise details of his incredible innovation, describing 50 mechanical devices in 6 different categories depending on usage and manufacture method. And this was the basis of European Renaissance classifications, as well as the drawings and designs of these machines and studies and research on watches, water-lifting machines, and heavyweights. This book was the basic reference for medieval mechanical and hydraulic machinery, the highlight of which was the existence of drawings and designs for these machines, and was translated into many languages. His manuscripts are mostly found in Turkey, such as the High Door Museum in Istanbul, and the other section of his manuscripts and studies purchased by several Western countries, including the Netherlands, France, Louvre Museum, the United States of America, Boston Museum, and Oxford University Library, Japan, and Britain. Al-Jazari died in 1206, leaving behind a science that contributed to the emergence of the Industrial Revolution. And despite centuries of inventions, scientists are still searching for his book around the world for secrets about the basis of engineering industries and their evolution in keeping with the times. Al-Jazari's genius was not only in his inventions, but also in his ability to think creatively and integrate various disciplines. His legacy continues to inspire engineers and inventors today, reminding us of the profound impact that one individual can have on the world of science and technology. His work remains a crucial chapter in the history of engineering, illustrating how creativity and intellect can lead to groundbreaking advancements. As for his invention that impressed and astonished the viewers, it was the chiming clock, which is a water clock that determines the time and provides signals performed by dolls for the rotation of the zodiac and the succession of the sun and moon in their eternal, everlasting orbit that has no end or ending. Al-Jazari's work was revolutionary, blending creativity with scientific inquiry. He is often regarded as one of the first true engineers and programmers, as he not only built machines, but also devised systems to control them. His influence can be seen in the evolution of robotics and automation, paving the way for future advancements in technology. In summary, al-Jazari's innovative spirit and detailed understanding of mechanics and programming have cemented his place in history as a foundational thinker in mechanical engineering and automation, inspiring countless generations to come.
Hey there! Thanks for taking the time to watch this video on Different Facts channel. If you want to support our channel, please consider subscribing, your positive comments, and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. We appreciate your support and hope to see you again soon.